So usually when we talk about the UK property market, the baseline assumption is just that London is the engine room.
Right, the safe bet.
Yeah, the asset class that somehow always defies gravity. But we have this stack of new research today from Zoopla and the Standard looking at the 2024 numbers. And, well, that narrative isn't just cracking, it is arguably completely broken.
It really is.
So in this deep dive, we are looking at exactly why London is suddenly so sluggish compared to the rest of the UK. And if you are a London homeowner, the data is a bit sobering. But if you are an investor looking for an entry point, you might actually find this fascinating.
Absolutely, because we're seeing a real tale of two markets playing out in real time. You have this distinct split between the north and south of the UK, and then a secondary fracture right inside London itself.
Between the prime central core and the outer boroughs. So let's start with the national picture first, because the headline numbers are pretty stark. Across the whole UK, the average property ticked up by about £2,400 last year.
Which is, I mean, it's hardly a bum, but it is at least positive.
Right, positive. But then you look at London, and the median property there only managed a lift of £1,400. The capital is actually dragging the national average down.
It is, yeah. It's performing noticeably worse than the average. And that is exactly where the north-south divide becomes critical to understand. Zoopla's data shows that in northern England and Scotland, about 62% of homes increased in value. But in the south, it was only 36%.
Just 36% saw any growth at all. That is a massive disparity. So is this purely just about interest rates, or what is driving it?
Well, it's about what we call the affordability ceiling. So think about it this way. Mortgage rates obviously went up for everyone across the board. But in the South, where prices are already so astronomically high, buyers were essentially maxed out.
They hit the hard ceiling of what banks would actually lend them.
Exactly. Whereas in the North, the prices are much lower relative to local wages. So there was still headroom, as Zoopla calls it. Buyers up north could absorb the rate hike and still actually borrow enough to buy the property. In London, that math just broke.
And when you look inside London, you can see exactly where it broke. The winners and losers list for 2024 is wild. Honestly, if you own property in prime central London, you might want to look away right now.
It was a, frankly, brutal year for the luxury postcodes. Kensington and Chelsea, which is the most expensive borough in the country, saw prices fall by an average of £44,300.
I mean, that is a staggering drop. And Westminster and Camden were down over £20,000 too. We aren't just talking about a stagnating market there. That is actual wealth destruction.
It is. We looked at notes from the buying agency, Black Brick, and they flagged this combination of global uncertainty and high holding costs.
Yeah.
But the really key takeaway from them was about seller psychology.
Right. They noted that sellers in these prime areas are finally being pragmatic.
Yes.
Right.
Which in real estate speak basically just means drop in the asking price. There's a lot of stock just sitting there. If you want to move it, you have to discount it. It is firmly a buyer's market for those prime assets.
But then you look east, and it is a totally different chart entirely. The top 5 performing boroughs were all in East London.
And again, this tracks right back to that affordability metric. Hackney saw values jump by nearly £13,000. And Waltham Forest was the volume winner with 64% of homes going up in value.
Just because people are getting priced out of the center and moving outwards to where they can actually get a mortgage approved, right?
Generally, yes. Areas like Barking and Dagenham have the lowest average price point in the capital at around £336,000. That low base allows for the kind of growth that Kensington simply cannot support right now.
Although I did notice a really important outlier in the data. Being quote-unquote cheap didn't automatically guarantee you made money. Look at Croydon and Enfield.
That is the crucial nuance here. Croydon and Enfield are relatively affordable, yet prices there actually fell. In Enfield, half of all properties lost value. So it proves you can't just buy the cheapest postcode and wait for it to go up. Local market factors still matter immensely.
Exactly. So looking ahead to the rest of 2025, the forecasts we looked at seem incredibly conflicted.
Mixed is probably putting it politely. You have Savills predicting prime central London will drop another 4%. But meanwhile, Knight Frank is predicting growth of 2%.
That's a 6% spread between two major agencies looking at the exact same market.
It shows just how much uncertainty is out there. But Knight Frank did issue a very specific warning about this coming April.
Right, the stamp duty changes.
Yes, stamp duty rates are set to rise. Plus, those sub-4% mortgage deals we saw recently are already drying up. Knight Frank thinks this could heavily suppress demand again in the second quarter.
And Zoopla points out that London has essentially been lagging since 2016, what with Brexit, the pandemic, and now the rates.
It has. But They do also argue that as incomes gradually rise, affordability is slowly being repaired.
Yeah.
It is just going to be a long game.
So the big picture takeaway here for you listening is that the era of London always wins is on pause. Growth is chasing value, which favors the North and East London over the luxury core.
That's it. Affordability really is the kingmaker right now.
Which leaves us with a question for you to chew on. With prime central London essentially on sale and wealthy sellers being forced to be pragmatic, are we witnessing a permanent shift of investment value away from the center? Or is this actually the perfect contrarian window to buy a slice of Kensington before the cycle inevitably turns again?
High risk, but potentially high reward.
Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.